Features of the classical arrangement. All right, so we know that the format of our final persuasive paper is going to be an APA. Now I want us to think more along the lines of how we're going to outline this actual paper. For the most part in high school, we tend to learn a 3-point thesis where we have an introductory paragraph. Then we cover the first point of our thesis. In the third paragraph, we cover the second point of the thesis, and then in the third paragraph, we cover the third point of the thesis, and then we have a concluding paragraph for a 5-paragraph essay. However, because of the length of our APA final paper, we're going to have to use a different type of outline. And what I would like for us to use is called the classical arrangement. Features of the classical arrangement, we have 7 sections, and I call them sections because I don't want you to think of them as paragraphs, because some of these sections may take more than one paragraph. So the first section is introduction. The second section is background information. The third section is proposition. The fourth section is proof of confirmation. The fifth is refutation. 6 is concession, and 7 is conclusion. Now, along with Aristotle and all of the philosophers, they came together and they decided that the classical arrangement outline is the best way to exhibit an argument, the best way to put an argument forth. So, let's look at the first section. This is the introduction. For the most part, your introduction section is going to be 1 paragraph. Within this section, you're going to introduce the issue. What are you going to talk about? For example, if you chose the legalization of medicinal marijuana, you will begin your, you will introduce your issue. And you will do this by capturing the reader's attention. You never want to say something like, I plan on writing about the legalization of medicinal marijuana. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is start with a short narrative or a strong example or illustration. For example, you may want to start with the story of a young girl named Charlotte Fiji who was having multiple seizures a day, and her life was about to be lost because of this illness. However, the use of medicinal marijuana saved her life. So if you are for it, then that would be a great short narrative or a strong example in which to gain some compassion from your audience. And the reason why you're wanting to do that is because you'll notice here in the introductory section, we are going to try to establish credibility with our audience by using ethos. And remember, we learned that ethos is ethics. So we want to gain ground ethically. So even if somebody doesn't believe in the legalization of a drug, they will definitely perhaps, or they may hopefully, unless they're a monster, will hope that a child will not perish, or if there is a way to prolong her life or quality of life, that they would get on board with that. So first section, introduction, but it does tend to be about 1 paragraph. But when I'm grading these, I'm going to look for that short narrative or strong example right from the get-go. And I'm going to be looking for elements of ethos as well. The second section is background information. This provides a history of the situation and states how things currently stand. So you may, if you're doing a paper on, say, gun rights, then you may want to start when we came over on the Mayflower for independence and we brought, it depends. It depends on what your topic is, where you want to start in with a historical reference to your topic. Also, in this background information, you're going to define key terms because your audience may not be they may not be very knowledgeable about your topic, so you want to define key terms. I remember one time I read a paper on fracking. I had no idea what that was. I had no idea. And so my student defined a lot of key terms in the background information. So before he argued one way or the other, for or against it, I understood what fracking was. And so that's why it's so important in your background information if you have a complex or a complicated topic, or even if you don't. If you're doing the right to die, you may want to talk about which medicines are used to perform this procedure or whatever. So, defining key terms and providing historical reference to your topic. Generally, depending on the topic, this can be 1 to 2 paragraphs, depending. The third section of the classical arrangement is called the proposition. This is where you introduce the side you are taking. So notice that you've introduced the topic, you've gained some credibility, you've appealed to your audience's ethics, you've given me knowledge about the subject, so now I know that you are a educated writer, so I'm going to be more open to what you are going to argue. And then in the proposition, you're actually going to say, I am for this, I am against this. And then you're very quickly just going to outline the basic reasons that support your side. You're just going to kind of mention them. The next section, you're going to go more into depth about those. So it's almost like you're just quickly outlining what you're going to cover in the rest of the paper. And this is actually where your thesis statement lives. It lives in the proposition section. Oh, and this generally 1 paragraph because you're not really going to go into depth. You're just going to kind of touch on what you're going to cover. Now, proof of confirmation is where you're going to go to town. You're going to start discussing the reasons that led you to take your positions, the reasons that you put in the proposition here. You're going to go into depth in your proof of confirmation. Whenever you are discussing these reasons, you're going to make sure that they are clear, relevant, and representative. And this is where logos lives. If you'll remember in our Google Doc, logos is logic. So I'm going to look for statistics, bar graphs, percentages, things that are irrefutable. Logos is irrefutable. So this is, I'm going to need a lot of logos in the proof of confirmation section. Proof of confirmation section is where the bulk of your paper is going to live. So this could be anywhere to 3 to 4 paragraphs. The next section is called refutation. This is the most common strategy for addressing opposing points of view. Refutation is when you respectfully demonstrate why you disagree with each of these opposing viewpoints. So you're going to think about, I guess, basically what your haters are going to say. Haters going to hate. So think about what the opposition is going to say about your position. Medicinal marijuana, they may say, well, now underage children have more access to the drug. It'll be easier for them to get it. So you just sort of outline why that's not going to be a problem. You can just say, well, there will be more regulations, and then also, I don't know, I don't want to write your paper for you, but you're just going to respectfully demonstrate why you disagree with what your haters are saying. Generally, I would pick 1 or 2 things at this section of the paper, and I would sort of go after those 2 things. The 6th section is called the concession. Now this one can be kind of tough. This is where you have to concede with a point which you agree has merit. Okay, so you've got to think about the topic and something that you agree with the haters. Okay, so say for example that you want to I don't know, say you're writing a paper on lowering the drinking age. So you want to lower the drinking age to 18. If you can be drafted into war, then you should be able to buy PBR at the favorite market. I don't know. So you have to agree and just say, you know what, yes, I concur that that lowering the drinking age to 18 may cause an increase in DUIs. And then you're going to have to say, however, I believe if we enforce blah, 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 then you are able to show that this concession, that it does not damage your case, that you still believe that the drinking age should be lowered to 18. So I would pick 1 or 2 of these, but at least have 1. And I will be looking for the logic of your argument in this concession. Generally, that's 1 paragraph. In your conclusion, and this as well as generally one paragraph, you're going to summarize your most important points and appeal to your audience's feelings. Now, we use pathos in the conclusion for two reasons. First of all, pathos is short and fleeting, so we want to get them right at the end so that they're left with all the feels. They're like, oh, I'm so sad, or oh, I need to act, or because we're done with them. We no longer, our paper's done, we've made our logical arguments, we've given them a history, we've defined key terms, we've given a refutation, we've conceded to something, and now we just want them to leave with a feeling of, I need to make a difference, I need to change something. So describe the consequences of your argument and gain a connection with your audience. And finally, leave with an encouragement for your audience to consider a particular course of action, to do something, to rally for something, to vote a certain way. So that's your conclusion. So this is the classical arrangement. Hopefully you have a better feeling about this paper and it's not quite so overwhelming. Just think about the sections and go in the order with your logic and your arguments with that. And it should help you immensely. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, please email me and I'm here to help you because that is my job. All right? Okay.